You're watching the show that puts Mid-Michigan news in focus. This is Focal Point.
I'm Aaron Jordan. Tonight on Focal Point, in any election season you hear a lot about polls, but how exactly are those done? I'll explain coming up.
Also, how a ballot proposal could affect redevelopment here in East Lansing. I'm Max Gunn. I've got that story coming right up.
We want justice! We want it now!
And the death of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri has sparked police brutality protests across the country. We'll show you how residents in East Lansing made their voices heard. Focal Point starts now.
Good evening, I'm Santiago Montiel.
And I'm Michaela Robertson. Welcome to Focal Point. In response to tragedies in Ferguson, Missouri, Hong Kong, and Palestine, Lansing area protesters came together for the National Day of Action Against Police Brutality. They rallied across the streets of East Lansing, delivering demands to the police.
Today we are going to march with a purpose, and we are going to go in there as one collective voice, one collective force, saying that we will no longer tolerate this.
On August 9th, 2014, Mike Brown was killed by Darren Wilson.
The events that followed this tragedy consist of protests and rallies throughout the U.S. to fight for justice.
If you use a megaphone, you are putting yourself at risk of arrest. If you take to the street, you are putting yourself at risk of arrest.
The risks were high.
9486!
And protesters were even provided with the jail support phone number.
It is highly advised that you put this number on your body because your phone will be confiscated in the event of arrest.
He's got a Sharpie.
But in the end, everyone stood united as they took to the streets and marched down Grand River.
And remember, stay together! People and police! Everyone for peace! People and police! Everyone for peace!
Everybody ended up, even though it was kind of not decisive, everyone kind of ended up on the street, and I thought that was a great thing because it kind of showed that we mean business and like we're serious about this.
Don't shoot!
Hands up!
Don't shoot!
Hands up!
Don't shoot!
I'm happy to be out here. I'm sad that I have to protest against police brutality, but I'm happy to be a part of it.
We want justice! We want it now! We want justice! We want it now!
Protesters have marched all the way from Beaumont Tower to City Hall to present 5 demands to the East Lansing Police Department.
Requiring the wearing of body cams for all officers, returning all military equipment, making arrest records available to the public, having community input on officer appointment, and releasing a statement in response to the acts that are currently taking place in Ferguson.
Mike Brown means we have to fight back! Mike Brown means we have to fight back!
Ensuring that events like Ferguson won't transpire here in East Lansing, the police department was given 1 week to meet the demands proposed.
Well, I think it was a peaceful protest, and the protesters came out and got their voices heard.
We gave them a week to deliberate, to think, and then to respond. And so within that week's time frame, we'll be awaiting a response, and then if not, then we'll be back a week from today.
The East Lansing Police Department rejected all of the protester demands. Rally organizers are now considering their next plan of action.
The eyesore of boarded up buildings near MSU's campus could potentially be redeveloped. East Lansing City Council has created a proposal that will be on the ballot in November, and Focal Point's Max Gunn shows us both sides and what the new proposal could mean if it's passed.
These buildings on the corners of Grand River, Abbott, and Evergreen Roads could soon be getting a makeover.
It is such an eyesore. It is such an embarrassment.
In the November election, East Lansing residents will vote on the proposed Park District plan to redevelop the area, which has been vacant for more than 10 years. The vote is to authorize the sale of land from the city to a developer.
I have worked here for 9 years.
Darcy Schmidt is the Zoning and Planning Administrator for the City of East Lansing. She hopes the proposal is passed.
Having more housing in the downtown really helps the vitality of a downtown.
In addition to both student and non-student housing, the proposed plan includes building a hotel, office and retail space, and several parking lots.
That makes our community more of not just an evening community or a daytime community, an all-day, all-evening community, so that these businesses can thrive.
I don't think that's a good way to buy property.
But not everyone is voting yes. East Lansing resident Chris Root is against the plan.
We know the location, we don't know what it's going to look like, and we don't know the cost.
Root said the wording of the proposal on the ballot is another reason why she is voting no.
You could write it so that it says, do you want to authorize a sale of this property for X purpose? But what they did instead was to say, will you authorize the city council to sell it if they decide to? And it's completely open-ended.
Now, Ruth said she does not want to be misunderstood. She isn't opposed to redeveloping the land behind me. She just needs more information from the city council and developers before she is willing to vote yes. Schmidt said she encourages citizens who plan to vote no to speak up in order to find a solution for everyone.
If they're completely against that and they don't feel that modifications to this development can go forward, they should come forward to the meetings and express that.
A similar plan for this area was proposed in 2008, but it expired in 2012 after the development company couldn't come up with it. Schmidt said that won't be an issue this time. For Focal Point, I'm Max Gunn.
The proposal needs 60% of voters to vote yes for it to pass. If approved, construction could begin as soon as this spring.
Today is October 31st, and of course that means it's Halloween. Kids will be out trick-or-treating, and MSU students will fill the streets decked out in costumes and heading out to parties. Last week, both students and kids came together for early Halloween events. MSU Greek Life and businesses on Grand River provided parents and their children with a fun, safe alternative.
Go green, go white.
From Sparty to Mario and even Maleficent, parents and their kids in costumes crawled down Grand River as businesses opened their doors to trick-or-treaters in the annual Pumpkin Walk. Some families even met the wizard on their journey through Oz. And even more waited until dusk to inhabit MAC for more candy, sack races, and street games provided by MSU Greek Life's Safe Halloween. Officer Hannah tells us what's cool and what's not when it comes to staying safe on Halloween night.
It's not cool to run over little kids because then they get all hurt and they can't go up to the candy booths because they have to get picked up and walked away to get cared for, and then they don't get the candy.
With more candy comes more cavities, but luckily Dr. Grady's candy booth gave away glow-in-the-dark toothbrushes.
Looking for a reason to wear your Halloween costume more than once this year? Well, Potter Park Zoo gave Halloween lovers a chance to do just that. Both young and old came out decked in their best Halloween attire for a spooky weekend adventure at Potter Park Zoo. Boo at the Zoo is an annual event with holiday decor, trick-or-treating, and more. Amidst all the decorations, kids got to enjoy hay rides, a haunted boo tunnel, a visit with library mascot Link the Cat, and of course, a lot of candy. Workers say despite the time it takes to decorate the zoo, it's well worth seeing the faces light up as visitors stroll through the exhibits. All of the funds from the event go towards supporting Lansing's wildlife preservation.
And speaking of wildlife preservation, a ballot referendum in Tuesday's election will decide the fate of wolf hunting in Michigan. Voters will be deciding whether or not to allow wolf hunts in the future after Michigan's first sanctioned wolf hunting season in 2013. Focal Point's Greg Monahan has more.
On this November's ballot, there are more than just candidates to decide on.
In the Upper Peninsula, since Tom has been a senator, and even before that, he's heard from a number of constituents who are concerned with the number of wolves up there.
Senator Tom Casperson, a Republican from Escanaba, is behind a pair of bills that will continue to allow wolf hunting in the state, which had its first season last winter.
We hear routinely from constituents, and we have over the last 4 years, and Senator Casperson did before he was elected, with concerns that they have, concerns such as wolves impacting livestock, wolves impacting killing their pets.
Like Wendell Miller, who lives in Mackinac County.
Population is reduced, they could be stay in the wild areas more, and if they had more fear of humans and knew that they were going to be hunted.
But after an opposing group gathered enough signatures to put the matter up to a vote, that canceled this year's hunt. The legislative back and forth which has canceled this year's hunt may have some Yoopers upset, but not all of them. I talked to Dr. John Vucetich, a wildlife biologist at Michigan Tech University, and he lives and works in the UP and is firmly against the wolf hunt.
Hunting is just not a sensible way to deal with livestock depredations.
These depredations are attacks on livestock, but Vucetich says that the times attacks happen, it does not line up with the timing of hunting season.
Most livestock depredations take place in the spring and summer months. So you can't say, oh, I've got a depredation problem here in April or in May, which is when most depredations occur, and say, oh, okay, well, we'll wait till this upcoming November. We'll hope that some hunter has the good fortune of killing the wolf that's causing that problem then.
But for those who have encountered wolves on their property, it's a different story.
If you were to put yourself in their shoes and think, what if the wolves were down here in Southeast Michigan or Ann Arbor or Grand Rapids? If they started to encroach on where you live, what would you feel?
The people of Michigan will get to answer that question on November 4th. For Focal Point, I'm Greg Monahan.
22 wolves were killed last year during the state-sanctioned hunt, and with no hunt this year, Michigan voters will decide Tuesday on the future for hunts in 2015 and beyond. And with the election only a few days away, the numbers in the governor's race are tightening, and pollsters say it's going to be a tight race. But just how accurate are these polls, and are they biased in any way? Focal Point's Aaron Jordan shows us how the polls really work.
The words the latest poll numbers show are familiar ones to voters in an election year. And MSU Associate Political Science Professor Matt Grossman says these polls are usually pretty accurate at this point in the year.
Late in the campaign, a candidate with a lead of 3 or 4 percentage points in multiple polls by this point is quite likely to win the election.
According to Epic MRA, a polling service based in Lansing, Governor Snyder The words the latest poll numbers show are familiar ones to voters in an election year. And MSU Associate Political Science Professor Matt Grossman says these polls are usually pretty accurate at this point in the year.
Late in the campaign, a candidate with a lead of 3 or 4 percentage points in multiple polls by this point is quite likely to win the election.
According to Epic MRA, a polling service based in Lansing, Governor Snyder leads by 8 percentage points over Democratic challenger Mark Schauer. The polls also show Congressman Gary Peters having an 11-point lead over Republican challenger Terry Lynn Land. This survey was completed via a live caller interview, but Epic MRA says poll results differ with other methods.
Other surveys using an automated telephone response technique have shown a closer margin.
The popularity of cell phones has not helped the accuracy of these polls.
It's very, very difficult to pinpoint jurisdiction.
Now, Kavanaugh says the reason it's difficult to pinpoint is because a person can live in one city but have an area code from another. For example, I live here in East Lansing, area code 517, but my cell phone is area code 269 from Southwest Michigan.
It tremendously increases the cost of administering interviews because you spend that much more time finding someone who's qualified to respond.
We did, for example, see some problems in 2008 and some more in 2012, some real differences between pollsters who were not calling cell phones.
And as far as political bias goes, Epic MRA co-founder John Kavanaugh says it simply would not be a smart business decision to let any political bias skew the results.
We didn't keep our doors open over 20 years by tossing out wishful thinking.
But for those undercounted populations, there is a process known as overweighting, which means their responses would be counted by 1.5 or 2% more.
That can raise all sorts of problems if those people aren't representative of the people that we're trying to reach.
Grossman says most polls typically try to get 1,000 responses. For Focal Point, I'm Aaron Jordan.
Kavanaugh also said that in-person interviews are usually the best way to poll, but are simply too expensive to administer.
A new company is brewing and selling craft beer in Lansing, but this is not your typical brewery. Operating out of a community kitchen at Allen Marketplace, Sleepwalker Spirits and Ale was created 7 years ago by 2 men passionate about beer. They were searching for a place to brew and sell their beer when they came across the Amp Kitchen at Allen Marketplace. It quickly became a home for Sleepwalker. The beer is cooked in the kitchen, and then it is stored in a small room at the marketplace that is licensed for alcohol sale and production. The Amp has enabled Sleepwalker to take a step towards realizing their dreams of creating their own brewery.
I know it's home brewing inside, but it's a huge dream, part of our dream come true. So, and this is the way this place is supposed to work. It's supposed to be a business incubator. It's a food hub, and I know that beer is a little bit of a stretch, but not really to me.
Sleepwalker is selling its beer at the Allen Marketplace Indoor Farmers Market on Wednesdays and Fridays. And now to another type of brewing. Unless you're studying science at a coffee shop, rarely would science and coffee be mentioned simultaneously. Yet Strange Matter Coffee has brought the two together by engineering a new way to pour their cup of joe. After 2 months of business, Strange Matter has attracted a variety of coffee lovers with their pour-over coffee. Brewed between 3 to 3.5 minutes at 202 degrees Fahrenheit, this liquid matter is served exactly the same way every time. When the process is finished, a small amount of coffee is served in a ceramic mug, alongside a beaker with the rest. This allows customers to taste the flavors of the coffee rather than how hot it is.
It has like flavor. You know what I mean? It has like actual like tasting notes in it, and you can actually taste that there are other flavors in there besides like that sort of like monolithic thing that we call coffee flavor.
Strange Matter Coffee Company is located in Midtown Lansing on the corner of Michigan and Clemens, and is a new concept for the area.
Toyota recently intensified recall efforts on several of its vehicles due to faulty airbag systems. Toyota, as well as the maker of the airbag inflators, Takata, say the airbags should inflate abnormally in the event of a crash. The recall is now targeting areas that see humidity, as Toyota says that increases the chance of malfunction. The recall affects model years 2001 through 2004 for the Toyota Corolla, Matrix, Sequoia, and Tundra, as well as the Lexus SC. Toyota said they began sending letters notifying vehicle owners of the recall last week. Owners can take their vehicle to a Toyota or Lexus dealer where the airbag inflator will be replaced.
And coming up, Empower Extraordinary. What does it mean? Michigan State is on the hunt for donors.
Later in sports, we'll have highlights of the big game, but up next, we'll show you how marching band members made sure nobody from the University of Michigan was able to harm a special landmark on campus. Aaron Jordan has those stories up next.
There are moments of triumph, of discovery, and achievement. But what makes these moments possible? It's the early mornings, the late nights. It's having the will to persevere. So let's take a moment to celebrate. But more importantly, let's salute the will it takes to get there. Spartans will.
When I was green, greener than the hill, where flowers grew and the sun shone still. Now I'm darker than the deepest sea. Just hand me down, give me a place to be.
Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and a local organization hosted a special fundraiser to help victims.
The Women's Center of Greater Lansing held their 6th annual Bras for a Cause event on October 17th. Participants decorated and designed their own bras, which were then auctioned off to raise money for the Women's Center and to honor victims of domestic violence. About 30 bras were sold, and all of them were modeled by Lansing's roller derby team, the Mitten Mavens. Overall, the event raised $3,500 for the Women's Center. And also last week was Michigan Week on Michigan State's campus, and that meant guarding one of East Lansing's most prized possessions.
But first, MSU is looking for increased funding and support from Spartan donors around the world. They just launched a campaign to help make it happen. Aaron Jordan is here to give us more details in our on-campus report. Aaron?
Well, that's right, guys. And Michigan State University finally launched their much-anticipated capital campaign last week. MSU hopes to increase the number of donors and raise $1.5 billion. Focal Point Santiago Montiel has the details.
The hows and the whats will change, but the core values will remain. And you're going to permit us with this campaign to secure that future.
And with that, President Simon opened the festivities and talked about why the campaign is needed.
And you will help us to empower that for the future in many ways that will be defined as extraordinary for the 21st century benchmark.
Guests heard several music performances and cheers of several schools, but one person stole the night.
My favorite part probably had to be Tom Izzo's.
Tom Izzo. I ain't running for president. I'm just here to thank all of you for what you've done. Just to bring a small taste of athletics to this incredible event. Go Green! All right, thank you.
Philanthropist Eli Broad sent a letter announcing he was donating another $25 million to the university, this time to expand MSU's business college. In his letter, Broad encouraged others to follow suit.
Please give. It's a great feeling. Very truly yours, Eli Broad.
It was great. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed the performances. The testimonials from student and faculty were very interesting, and certainly reminded me of what was great about Michigan State.
Really getting us motivated to raise our goal and really reach newer heights.
This banner behind me was passed around campus all of last week, and it was signed by hundreds of students as a sign of appreciation and thank you for all the donations that have made this campaign possible.
The event ended with campaign co-chairs Bob Scandalaris and Dee Cook announcing that over $700 million have already been donated. They also announced one more thing.
Go Green!
For Focal Point, I'm Santiago Montiel.
Scandalaris also announced a $10 million donation to Spartan Athletics, the biggest in the department's history. The campaign will run until 2018. Well, have you ever tried to print 300 pages in 10 minutes? Well, there's a new machine in the MSU main library that can print a whole book as fast as you can print a cup of coffee.
I've already ordered it, so this is...
Make a cup of coffee. The Espresso Book Machine is a robotic bookmaking machine that can print, bind, and trim high-quality paperback books on demand. All you need is a digital file, and you can publish your own work. You can also print rare or even out-of-print books, and all of this is just $5. And you don't have to be a student or affiliated with the university to use this resource. It's available for everyone.
I've worked with all kinds of random folks, you know, sometimes completely remotely to get their book project. In one case, the lady from Washington's wanted to reprint her father's dissertation, which had burned up in a fire. And we had it on file here at MSU, and we just could go get it and, you know, get permission to make a copy. It was great.
Now, there are two other machines in the state. One is at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. The other is in Grand Rapids. Well, an MSU group is trying to help the community stay fit as they kicked off its season of physical fitness events, hosting the second annual Rock, Walk, and Roll event last week. Starting and ending at the Rock on campus, walkers followed a 1-mile route along the banks of the Red Cedar. Students, faculty, and other members of the MSU community participated in the event sponsored by MSU Moves, a collaborative effort to promote health among professionals across campus.
It's really important because it's being more physically active. It also helps, you know, improve our health overall. And I know a lot of college students just don't have that access or just not aware just how important it is to be physically active and help prevent a lot of diseases.
MSU Moves offers multiple fitness events throughout the year, encouraging physical activity as a fun part of daily life. Well, the Michigan State football rivalry is more than just a game, as students do a lot all week to get ready for the big day on the gridiron. The Sparty statue is often a target for vandals and gets some special security during the week. Tyler Clifford has that story.
Sparty is probably the most popular campus destinations for MSU fans and students. So popular, it's a target for enemies. So marching band members have a big task the week of the huge Michigan and Michigan State rivalry football game.
I'm not here to watch Sparty, man.
You can find a crowd of students talking, laughing, dancing, and having a good time at the statue.
We're guarding Sparty to make sure the Wolverines don't do anything risque to our boy here while we're getting ready for football.
It may get cold at night, but students are dedicated.
Well, this week it's Michigan week, and we're about to destroy Michigan, so we're just getting hyped.
Friends and refreshments like cookies and hot chocolate keep the energy up all night.
I just love the people. Like, I love hanging out, and I love music. It's like my passion, and I love cheering for the football team. So that's fun.
The Spartan Marching Band is out here each day to protect Sparty during Michigan Week. Tonight, Coach D'Antonio showed up with pizza to show his appreciation for the band's support.
How we doing, guys? Coach D'Antonio says the band is essential to the team. He's one of few honorary members.
Love the jacket, Coach. The jacket's nice. Thanks for all you guys do and everything, and we will see you on Saturday, all right?
I really think we feed off the band feeds off what's going on the field, and you know, I've always said that, you know, really sometimes there's no existence without the other.
And of course,
can I get a selfie with you?
The night wouldn't be right without taking a selfie. For Focal Point, I'm Tyler Clifford.
MSU dominated the Wolverines with a 35-11 win. Max Gunn will have those highlights coming up later in sports. For many MSU students, Halloween weekend is one of their favorite times of the year, and now it's officially here. Well, unfortunately, I was told before the show that I wasn't allowed to wear my costume on the set. Where's Waldo? But in the spirit of the season, we went out and asked, what was your favorite Halloween costume you've worn and why?
Last year I was a squirrel.
and it was really fun just to be drunk in a squirrel costume.
My favorite was when my mom made me a vending machine costume. She got super into Halloween. Unfortunately, scarred me from Halloween now.
A penguin costume for my freshman year. It was a pretty big hit. A lot of people liked it. It was cheap and it was easy to do, and it turned out great.
Pretty sure it played off well with the ladies too.
Yeah, a lot of. That's why I said it was a big hit. A lot of girls liked it.
She went all out when we were in elementary school. Made us birdhouses and bathtubs and really ridiculous things, and now I'm like so against it.
What are you going to be this year?
I haven't really decided yet. Still working on a costume, probably last minute.
I have no idea. I might have to bust it out. I haven't worn it since freshman year, so I think it might have to make its farewell tour this year.
It's about due.
Yep. Senior year, you know, got to go out with a bang, so I think it might be good for its farewell tour.
And finally, Michigan State University's annual video game conference Meaningful Play brought together creators, designers, and gamers recently to test out more than 40 games for the first time ever. In the midst of midterms, this was all about play. The goal was to bring entertainment and education together in gaming. Players learned about music with an interactive iPad games to workout skills in zombie yoga. One studio director even presented his game Fat Chicken, which brings awareness to factory farming. And that's what's happening on campus. Michaela and Santiago, back to you.
Thanks, Aaron. Up next, we'll show you how the Michigan State football team is looking forward to next week's big game against Ohio State after beating in-state rivals Michigan last week at the Spartan Stadium.
Besides, basketball season starts on Monday, and Coach Tom Izzo pumped up the fans at the Breslin Center with a bit of a heavy metal-themed Midnight Madness. Max Gunn has those stories in sports right after this.
There are moments of triumph, of discovery, and achievement. But what makes these moments possible? It's the early mornings, the late nights. It's having the will to persevere. So let's take a moment to celebrate. But more importantly, let's salute the will it takes to get there. Spartans will.
When I was green, greener than the hill, where flowers grew and the sun shone still. Now I'm darker than the deepest sea. Just hand me down, give me a place to be.
It was rivalry week in East Lansing as the MSU football team looked to win its 6th game in the last 7 against the Michigan Wolverines. A sellout crowd of 76,331 saw the Spartans jump out to an early lead and run away with a 35-11 victory. Tony Libby continued his hot season with 103 yards receiving, including a 70-yard touchdown. The Spartans' defense forced 3 turnovers, and running back Jeremy Langford led the team with 177 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns.
I think everyone saw when they ran out and stuck the dagger in, on our grass and disrespected us right out the gate. I think everyone saw when they ran out and stuck the dagger in, on our grass and disrespected us right out the gate. We weren't having that, so, if we had the ball, we were trying to score.
The little brother stuff, all the disrespect, it doesn't have to go in that direction. We've tried to handle ourselves with composure. That doesn't come from the coach. That comes from the program. And throwing the stake down in our backyard out here and coming out there like they're all that, it got shoved up. It got shoved the last minute and a half, and we were not going to pull off of that.
Michigan State is now 7-1 on the season, while the Wolverines are just 3-5. Next up for the Spartans, the Ohio State Buckeyes next Saturday night. And today, Michigan's athletic director David Brandon resigned from his position after a public outcry for his job in Ann Arbor. He will be replaced on the interim by former Steelcase CEO Jim Hackett. The College Football Playoff Selection Committee has spoken, and they like the SEC Conference. Mississippi State, Florida State, Auburn, and Mississippi are the top 4 teams in the first playoff rankings that would determine the national champion. The rankings will be updated each week until the end of the season to determine which 4 teams will compete in the new college football playoff system. Michigan State was 8th in the rankings and has 1 month to crack the top 4 for the Spartans to contend for the national title. It's time to get excited about basketball season, and both fans and players came out excited this year for Midnight Madness. Midnight Madness is a kickoff to the season where fans and players filled the Breslin Center late last Friday night to get each other pumped up about the season, which starts Monday with a 7 p.m. tip-off against Masters College. Tom Izzo surprised fans in unique fashion, dressing up as a member of the KISS cover band, invited to play the show, and taking the mic for a few moments to address the fans. And not to be outdone, women's coach Susie Merchant came out dressed as pop star Beyonce. After Midnight Madness, the men's basketball team held its annual media day Tuesday, and of course, the man of the hour was head basketball coach Tom Izzo. While he said he's excited to have stars like Brandon Dawson and Denzel Valentine back, he's also excited about some new guys, especially a man raised here in Lansing, junior transfer Bryn Forbes, who he compared to the Spartan great Sean Respert.
He averaged almost 16 points a game as a sophomore there and scored 22 at Kentucky. So he's played in big arenas. And I will say this, after a month and a half, 2 months, even some of the summer, I'm not sure since Sean Respert that a guy who has a prettier shot or can shoot it more consistently well than him.
And with men's basketball about to begin, the men's hockey team had its first road trip of the season, but dropped both games on the East Coast against Boston University and UMass Lowell. The Spartans scored just a single goal on the weekend, losing 1-0 and 2-1. Despite losing both, junior goalie Jake Hillenbrand stopped 59 of the 62 shots he faced over the 2 games. That's what's happening here in sports. Michaela, Santiago, back to you.
Thank you, Max. And finally tonight, East Lansing has proven that you can make art out of anything.
Last weekend, 6 artistic bike racks were presented and installed around the city. East Lansing's mayor, Nathan Triplett, along with the artists, were on hand to help cut the ribbon for the new functional artwork. The bike racks were funded by a $10,000 grant from the Lansing Economic Area Partnership. The top 6 designs were chosen from 18 applications. Some artists think that humanity's most valuable trait is our art.
If there were other intelligences in the universe, they would not be interested in our technology. They wouldn't be interested in our building techniques. They wouldn't be interested in our bombs. They would be interested in our cultures.
Some pieces can already be seen on Grand River Avenue, ready to use.
Well, Michaela, that's our show for tonight. We leave you now with sounds from the MSU Orchestra.
Good night, everyone, and happy Halloween.